And joining us now to expand our understanding of India-Namibia ties, we have with us Sushil Kumar Singhal, who's a former senior diplomat. Thank you very much, Ambassador Singhal, for being with us. How do India-Namibia ties actually fit into the greater African, the India-Africa engagement in a sense?
Well, it's a very interesting question which you raised. But let me just, you of course mentioned about how the ties between India and Africa have evolved. Namibia have evolved. 1946 years mentioned that, India was even pre-independence, we raised in UN General Assembly issue of Namibia's independence. And SWAPO have opened the first embassy in India in 1986, which was later on in 1990 when they became independent. It was upgraded to in 1994. Actually, they opened the mission in India. We upgraded our mission in Namibia in 1990, immediately after the independence. India and Namibia's relations, have since then grown by leaps and bounds. There are leaders. He visited India, and this is real visit. This is Prime Minister Modi's visit, which is taking place since after 98. Last was Prime Minister. There was, it was in immediately aftermath of the India's declaration of this nuclear status, and there was some talk about, issuing a declaration about anti-India. Uh, but after the visit, then it was the Durban Declaration which was issued. It called for the international nuclear disarmament, which is the demand for India of India. So this is the one, the political side. Their relationship has been very understanding. Secondly, this trade side, India's, we are about $800 million bilateral trade. We export about 400 million odd, and imports about 235 million. Apart from that, the development assistance which we talked about, India is a very important partner, and this is one of the African country where India is under ITAC program. India is giving training to the armed personnel. We have, Indian Air Force officials who are training the helicopter pilot. We have gifted them few helicopters also, and under ITEC we help them in the capacity building for even the medicine or even employment generations. And we have very interesting program. This is the first ever program in the world where the cheetahs was translocated from Namibia to India in 2022, and this project is doing very well, I must say. And then this time, the Prime Minister, when he's visiting, he is going to address the Parliament, of course, and the very important agreement on the digital. We have this our sorry, the digital program which we have, for the transfer, which we, is going to be, I think, the 9th country where this facility would be created with the Indian help. And in Namibia, as you said, the 3rd largest producer of uranium and rare earth, which include lithium and other rare earth. So it's very important partner for us in the field of clean energy. In my view, Namibia is going to play a very important role for us. And when it comes to African strategy, India is has always been the votary of the global South, particularly of Africa, as we know during G20, last G20, which was held in India. India advocated and ensured the entry of African Union as a permanent member of G20, which has been very widely appreciated. And India's investments, actually, now it has gone, in Namibia, we have about $800 million investments, FDI, and this is a plan to increase much more. I think the Prime Minister's visit will give it a further boost to it. And India is the 4th largest trading partner of Africa. We have about $100 billion plus bilateral trade. And our investment in Africa is in the range of about $76 billion. And we expect that by 2030, this is going to be reach about $150 billion in Africa. So India's partnership with Africa is increasing by leaps and bounds. And I think this visit of the Honorable Prime Minister is going to give further boost to it, boost to this relationship with Africa and with Namibia in particular.
Okay. So you're saying it's a part of the Africa outreach. Also, we are joined on the show by Dr. Swasti Rao. She is the Associate Fellow at MPID SA. Dr. Rao, are you with us? All right. I can see
Yes,
Dr.
I'm very much with you.
Yes. I can see you on the screen now. Dr. Rao, Ambassador Singhal argues that this is, this visit to Namibia is part of the larger Africa outreach. But Namibia is a very small, we hardly have any diaspora. I think 450 people there. 800 million is what your investment is. Trade is just about, 600 million. Why did the Prime Minister choose Namibia to go in the whole African continent? He began with Ghana. Why is he ending with Namibia? What is the significance of that country?
No, thank you for that question. And I think a primer has already been given by our ambassador. So we definitely know what the MEA sort of image of how India views Namibia looks like. And you did mention some very pertinent issues as to why did the Prime Minister choose Namibia. Now, quickly, when Prime Minister is traveling afar, remember last time when he went to Canada, he also made a stopover at Cyprus and Croatia. Similarly, like this time, he was going to attend the BRICS summit in Brazil. And on his way, he chose certain Latin American countries and, Argentina, apart from Brazil, as well as Trinidad, Tobago, Ghana, etc. in Africa. And now he's coming back and he's stopping over in Namibia. Now, very quickly, you mentioned that there are very few diaspora. We hardly have any trade. The total trade between us is about 800 million. Same for investments. Of course, Namibia is important to us because of many, many reasons. It is a part of our broader, Africa strategy. And we have spoken a great deal about how Africa is capturing India's strategic imagination, not only for rare earth, and critical, minerals, but also for the location. Please remember, and here I think I should take you a little bit back to how the strategic picture of Namibia looks like. If you were to zoom into the map of the African continent, you will see where Namibia is located. So Namibia is located on the other side of Africa from us. So it's not a part of the Indian Ocean region because Indian Ocean region sort of ends at the eastern coast of Africa. It is a very important port for the Atlantic Ocean. And if you carefully see how the Chinese have been investing in port infrastructure across Africa, I mean, it is way, way, way more than what they are doing in terms of their string of pearls in South Asia. So there is overwhelming Chinese presence in Namibia. You were mentioning some trade figures of it. I'll just give you some comparative analysis that while we have about 800 million worth of trade, and the US, by the way, who's another big player in the African region, has only about 400 million worth of trade with them. It is China. The total trade with China is $25 billion. And out of that, most of it has got to do with critical rare earths, etc. So it is in Namibia's trade export surplus, which means that China is buying all those things from Namibia. So that's the first part, that we have to understand that in the great scramble for Africa, China has reasserted not only port infrastructure, there is a port called, I'm forgetting the name, there is a very important strategic port, in Namibia, which actually serves as the gateway for accessing other landlocked countries in that part of the region. So China has overwhelming presence in that part. That's one. So we have to be there in order to assert our rightful leadership and voice of being the leaders of the global South. It is imperative that India doubles down on our engagement there. That's the first part. The second part is got to do with the information control that China has there, because there is almost no US 5G company there. It's completely Huawei, which has dominated Namibia. And from India's perspective, I think it is a great beginning that we have offered our digital payments, etc. And that's one of our very successful tools, So we sort of, look at that, and that's a welcome step. And the third thing is that we already have a framework by which we try and do more military exercises. I'm not here referring to the defense industry, because even in the Namibian defense industry right now, if you look at the figures, China is the biggest, partner there. China sells many more. Namibia imports most of its defense equipment from China. Then it also imports some from South Africa, some from US, here and there. But the primary player out there is again China. So I'm here not referring to defense industry. I'm referring to defense cooperation per se, about military exercises. And India and Africa have conducted their first maritime military exercise. Namibia was a part of that, so I wouldn't read too much into it. But at the same time, there is a lot of capability, capacity development that we can do, something that I argued in the similar fashion for countries like Ghana, etc. So I think those are things where we can be looking at.
Right.
And in my opinion, in the great scramble for Africa, I think it's high time that India asserts its radical presence, with these countries.
Okay. All right.